Culture is just as important, if not more important, to folks these days as compensation. If I know a company is measuring that, then that means they are taking culture and employee satisfaction seriously. Are they providing mentorship? Or are you kind of just thrown to the wolves and figuring it out yourself? Hi, I'm Hanna Root, and I'm Qualigence's IT recruiting consultant here, and I'm going to be talking a little bit today about company culture. I have noticed with my conversations more recently, especially with the younger and millennial age folks, that culture is just as important, if not more important, to folks these days as compensation. And a lot of folks out there can talk in great detail about compensation. It's very black and white, pretty self-explanatory. But then when you start asking people to talk about their culture, they really seem to fall short. You'll hear things like, oh, we work hard, we play hard, we've got Nerf guns and ping pong in the environment, we have a great work-life balance. But when you ask about what work-life balance looks like for them, they can't really explain it to you. So I've come up with a handful of questions that I like to ask different hiring managers and recruiters to really understand their company culture. The first question that I have is, how often do managers and leaders meet with their employees? This question gives you a better understanding of how much time the leaders and managers are spending to develop their internal employees, whether it's hands-on or over the phone or whatever it may be. The second question I like to ask, which is similar to the first one, is how much time do the company leaders, founders, or owners actually spend in the office? That again will give you an idea of how much time the owners and founders are spending developing all of their internal employees and growing them versus growing the business maybe from a sales perspective or a revenue perspective. Another question that is nice to ask is, what type of philanthropy does the company participate in? That right there will give you an idea of how the company gives back to the community, how important they value giving back to the community, and then more specifically, maybe this company's purpose, you'll figure out what this company's purpose is by uncovering the philanthropic values or motivators of really the owners, founders, or leaders of the company. Big question, I think this needs to be asked pretty much every time, is what is your attrition rate? And this should be asked from a company perspective, to see what the turnover rate is there. I mean, are they just churning and burning through employees? If so, why? And what are the steps they're taking to remediate that? And then also from a specific manager, I want to know that the manager I'm working with or working for doesn't, again, just churn and burn through all their employees and that their attrition rate is skyrocket. So ideally, that should give you a better picture of the type of manager that you're working with and how far that they might be able to take you in terms of your career. Another question you can ask is, what was the last big achievement that was celebrated? And right here, if they really struggle coming up with something to answer, that can be a warning sign or a red flag. You want to have answers about that they're celebrating things not every day, but that they are celebrating accomplishments and that they're recognizing people for going above and beyond and busting their butt. Another one you can ask, it's pretty simple, is do you have a casual dress code or do you have flex hours? That really, companies will tell you they have work-life balance, but if they don't have flexible hours, are they really offering you a good work-life balance? So I think that question can dig a little bit deeper into the whole work-life balance aspect. The last two questions are kind of tied together, and it's something I just learned about fairly recently by working on a couple of customer care and employee care director positions. And so question you can ask is, what type of initiatives or steps have you taken recently to improve employee satisfaction? I'm sure if you ask that question, you're gonna get a lot of maybe blank stares or whatnot. They probably haven't thought about that, a lot of companies. So it's a great question to really understand if they are even taking steps or measures to improve improve the employee satisfaction. I just learned recently that one of the ways they do have a tool out there that you can actually measure employee satisfaction. It's called Employee Net Promoter Score. And so I like to ask, now that I'm aware of it, is do you measure Employee Net Promoter Score, ENPS? And if so, what is your current ENPS score, and what are the steps you're taking to improve upon that? All right, so we just went over the 8 questions that I like to ask different hiring managers to understand their company culture. But I'm gonna flip it back to you folks. What are the types of questions that you ask to determine company culture? Comment below.